So we've started filling in all the whites. We've got them almost all filled in. Now we want to be aware of where the local colors aren't quite holding up, or where details might matter, like the color of a button or the color of this lettering. Let's see, where was it? One of these. Maybe I pulled him out. Yeah, here he is. So on this, it shows that sign in this movie clip as being red lettering. And it seems not unbelievable that he would have the lettering of the black part be red. But you'll see that the red doesn't really show up. Right. So here is another coloring technique that we can use sparingly, and it's to do a blank layer on top of our black and gray layer. And this is only for small occasions. But you're going to not use multiply mode for it. You're going to use what's called color mode. So we make sure you can see it. So on this layer on top of blacks and grays, we're going to put color mode. And now whatever color I choose, like this red, when I paint with it, it will make those values match for that color. So when you have a part of the exposure that's just way too dark to show you the color you want to show, you can do that with an overlay layer in the color mode. And what's nice about that, and you just do it for sparing details, is then you can really play with the opacity of it and how sharp it is. Now if I paint everything with that, it will replace the blacks and grays that I need with other colors. And that doesn't make sense. But I might use that a little bit for this guitar. Because, and maybe for the pick guard, because I don't want black to be so dominant. And I found this kind of tortoise shell, and I want this color to kind of come through, even on top of the blacks for the pick guard. And that way the color will start to mix a little bit with even the darkest colors on top. And so I don't use it for everything, but I'll use it to modify some of my flat colors if the flat colors just aren't doing enough. And this is where you might put in some variation as well. But it's easy to overdo it, and then you can just use a low opacity eraser and kind of blend it back in. So that's a nice way to modify your colors. So once you have everything kind of filled in, we'll talk about the ways we can modify your coloring and be more true to life than just the flat color selections. But often I'll color it from both sides. So I'll color the back, these details, and if I think they should be, a strong red, I will do that. But if I feel like that detailing is just too hard, I can do it on that color layer, and it will help me make those distinctions. You see how the red doesn't really show up on the white because it's matching the value as I go. That might be really helpful with the guitar strings too. Instead of trying to paint them without missing any of the lines. I can do it as this overlay layer with the color blending mode. Now if we colored everything like that, we would lose all of our shadows. Everything would look like it's bathed in a weird light. So this is just a modifier we use. But we still want those blacks and grays to come through. We don't want it to look like we're painting on top. But what's nice about that color layer is we can be pretty bold about different saturations and different attempts as well. We might even get new colors we can steal for our flat color layers. Oops. And when you're not sure what color to fill in something, just fill it in with a gray value that matches. It's hard to know always what the local color should be. In general, for the darks and the bright whites, all we can do is choose whether it's a warm color or a cool color that shows through at the edges. So if I want the frets to feel more golden, I can go onto my color overlay layer and paint with that. But it's a little too strong, so let me modify. Just give them a little bit of warmth on the fret. Actually, I think I want the frets to be more silver and the strings to be more golden. Wrong layer. There we go. So it's playing warms and cools against each other. That will get you far. First I do those frets. Now I'll do a slight kind of warmer color for the strings and play that across. Now notice I'm doing that overlay layer and it's coloring the strings. But if I have the strings already filled in with a flat color underneath, it's not going to modify it there. So Because remember, these adjustment layers, they just go on top of everything. I don't think I'm even going to bother with those smaller strings. Now you can actually set your paint drop tool to sample from only the current layer. And what that allows is, so even though you're seeing all the black, you can steal colors directly from yourself. And so if I want to paint the same color that's underneath the hair here, it's not going to mix that color with the gray anymore. It's just going to match that flat color. So that can save you a lot of time too. Or I want to match this skin tone, because now I just want to tighten up the edges. And so now I'm just working around the edges of things, making sure they're all filled in, not leaving any white space behind. Still with a 100% opacity brush. Then after this, we'll be done with our flat color layers, and then we'll just play with modifying it. Now soft edges like the hair here, that's kind of tricky. And I'll probably have to color that with softer brushes. So I'm just going to push away from the edge a little bit, painting with that outside color, because hair is partly see-through. It's not a solid chunk. But that's a really handy step at this point, stealing the color just from that layer. And you can use it to modify some of your color choices if they felt too strong. Fill in your buttons. I think I'll put kind of a golden button on